What is up, everybody? It's Mike Ferrante here with LPT Realty and the Mike team. Things I wish I had known when I first got licensed as an agent before dialing for sale by owners and expireds.
It is time once again to crack open a cold one and talk real estate with Mike Ferrante of the 21 Mike team at LPT Realty, based in Northeast Ohio. We are diving into all things real estate, from agent training and real estate investing to buyer and seller tips and everything in between. This is free beer and real estate.
Hey everybody, Mike Ferrante here, LPT Realty and the Mike team. There's our logo in the background. We're doing Tuesday training every Tuesday, 11:30 Eastern time. You can join us here live on Zoom. And of course, you can watch the recordings on YouTube. And if you're there, bam, smash that subscribe button. Facebook Live. We also take the recordings of the audio and put these on our podcast, Free Beer and Real Estate. So if you're there, thanks for joining us. And of course, you missed the free beer. That was yesterday. So come back next week. But yeah, today we're going to do some seller scripts. What agent doesn't love to have more listings? And FSBOs and Expireds, for sale by owner and expired listings, are two great sources. Just last weekend, we were practicing for sale by owner scripts on our weekly role play practice. So we actually open up a Zoom every Saturday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Those of you not in our time zone, I know it's early for you, but if you're maybe just one time zone away, you could join us. It would only be 7:30 for you. But you can hit me up if you want to join us and just practice. That's mike@21mike.com. Shoot me an email and I'll add you to that invite. But I do today have a great list of pointers for you as far as dialing for sale by owners and expired. So let's get down to business with that. And we'll save a couple minutes at the end here to get some comments and ideas from the folks that are here live today. We've got a couple high producing agents, and of course, my favorite broker from San Antonio, Texas is here. So First off, I do want to talk a little bit about for sale by owners versus expireds. Okay, both are great sources of listings. I know some agents are sitting there groaning, going, "Oh, Mike, whenever I call, they all say the same thing. So many agents are calling me. I'm tired of these calls. Stop calling me." Well, look, that's all about your opening line, and it's also about your approach. And I'll tell you this, from my experience, for sale by owners are definitely a bit more receptive than expired listings. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but that has been my experience. For sale by owners, they understand for the most part that agents are a great source of buyers. So that is one approach, a little spoiler alert there. Your expireds, they just got off a really bad experience. Okay, probably really bad, at least not good. They did not sell their house. And my quick tip for you here is when you're calling expireds, don't lead with that. "Hey, I noticed your home didn't sell." I mean, that's like saying, "Oh, I noticed you have a paper cut. Let me pour some lemon juice on it." So you have to keep in mind that opening line that you're using. I mean, I hate to think of it as a line. I mean, it's not like a pickup line at a bar where, you say, "Hey, are you an angel? Did you just drop from heaven or whatever?" You can tell I'm not good with the pickup lines. I've been married now for 18 years. So, but you get my meaning. If you come off as salesy or, just like everybody else, of course you're going to get resistance. So I have a couple ideas here for you for approaches that will help get you past that opening line. Okay, so I think with for sale by owners, you should start with a pattern interrupt, and it's the same with expireds. So I've heard a bunch of different coaches talk about that opening line pattern interrupt. "Hey, it's Mike with LPT Realty. I'm not trying to get your listing today." That's a good one. Another one is, "I know you weren't expecting my call today." I've even heard some coaches, and my teammate Mike Pillow down in Apple Valley Lake and I were talking about this one. We really like it, actually giving the prospect the opportunity to hang up. Maybe that's a great route where you say something like, "Hey, this is Mike with LPT Realty. I'm actually calling to talk to you about the home you have for sale. This is not a sales call, but just wondered if you wanted to give me 2 minutes to talk to you, or would you rather hang up now?" And the interesting psychology about an approach like that is that you're kind of giving the power to the person on the other end of the phone. And when you do that, they tend to say, okay, I'll give you 2 minutes. So listen, once you break through that initial shock of, hey, this is a cold call, this is someone that I don't know, which by the way, if you have a name, great. We still recommend, like we've talked about in past scripts, saying something like, hi, Scott, hi, Mike, not saying, is this Scott or is this Mike, whenever you can. Now, obviously, sometimes if you've driven by a house and all you have is a phone number and you want to make that call right away, you have to start with something like, hey, is this the seller or owner of 123 Main Street? Immediately, they're going to know that you're a stranger, but that's where it's so important to get that pattern interrupt going. Listen, this is Mike. I'm an agent, not calling to list your home. Wondered if you had 2 minutes. I had a couple questions for you. Not trying to list your house. Would you like to hang up now? So choose your best favorite pattern interrupt to start the call with, and then go into a script that's more about giving than it is about trying to get business. Um, Now, I'm reminded, Mike and I listened to a guy from Hawaii who was wildly successful in making these calls, and he took the exact opposite approach. He basically went for the appointment on the opening line. And Mike, I don't know if you remember this guy, but his opening line was something like, hey, this is Mike calling about your home for sale at 123 Main Street. I'd like to come take a look at it. How is tonight at 5 o'clock or tomorrow morning at 10? So that was kind of a completely opposite and different approach. I've not yet tried that, and hearing this guy talk about it, it was pretty bold. But here's my advice for you guys that are making these calls, having these conversations. Pick a script that you feel comfortable with, master it, and try it out. Track your numbers, see what's working for you. If you're getting appointments, great. Keep using that script. If you're not, change it up. It's as simple as that. Now, going with what works for me, I go with the helpful scripts. How's it going? Are you getting buyers? If I were to bring a buyer, would you be interested in speaking with me? That's one of my favorite approaches. Now, every script has its pitfall. And of course, we're going to talk about some objections that you get when you make these phone calls. And of course, one of the toughest objections, I think, is when they say, well, do you have a buyer? Sure, I'd be happy to talk to you if you have a buyer. I do not recommend lying. I mean, it's directly against the code of ethics, right? Yes, I have a buyer and let me bring them over. We don't want to lead with that necessarily, but one of the objection handlers that we've used is, sure, I work with a lot of buyers in the area, and I'd like to preview your home to see which of my buyers your home may be a good fit for. Okay, but asking if they're willing to cooperate with agents is a great way to feel them out too. Because the last thing we want is to work with or try to convert a seller who's just completely against agents. You're going to get the objection, we're not paying an agent. We're doing it by owner because we're trying to avoid working with an agent. And I think we have to do what we always do, and that is ask questions. Well, so if I had a buyer who was willing to pay you your price, would you be receptive to working with me? I think it's a mistake to go right into the commission conversation, by the way. I think most sellers are worried about one thing when it comes to dollars, and that's the net. Do they really care how much you get paid? They think they do because how much do you charge? That's one of the big objections. And I think right away, agents assume that a question is an objection. So take a breath when you get these questions. Just remember, it's not necessarily an objection. Well, if you bring a buyer, how much do I have to pay you? What's your answer to that? I don't think the answer is a number. I think the answer is, hey, we can discuss that. The good news is I have an agreement with my buyer. All my buyers sign an agreement with me and we'll negotiate the commission, assuming we come to an agreement on price. I think with the I have a buyer or I have buyers script, the goal is to just get permission to put your foot in the door, get permission to show the house, to preview the house. Quick tip here, this is something that we practice on our Saturday role play. We ask if they're having an open house. And it's a great time, especially if they're resisting having a private time for you to come see the property, stopping into the open house. And we like to either come like right before the open house starts or even better at the end of the open house. Oh, your open house is from 1 to 3. How about if I stop by at about 2:45? I'll take a look at the house and then I'll have any questions ready for you just as you're wrapping up. I think asking about an open house is also a great segue to our marketing conversations. So another great script when you're working, especially with a for sale by owner and with expireds, frankly, is about the marketing. The marketing and market reality check, as I call it. Hey, how are you marketing the property? Oh, you're not having an open house? Why is that? How are you marketing the property? Well, it's on Zillow. Zillow's good, but did you know that you're missing dozens, if not hundreds, of other websites where buyers are searching for homes? Is your home coming up in AI searches? Whether you guys like it or not, people are going to Claude, ChatGPT, and typing in searches. Find me a 3-bedroom ranch in San Antonio, Texas, and surrounding area within 15 minutes of this particular hospital or this particular employer, within 10 minutes of the water, near shopping. These are the types of searches that buyers are gravitating toward. We need to be ready for that, and we need to bring it up in our marketing. Is your property being marketed in a way where it comes up in AI? And I think that's a great question. I think the goal with a for sale by owner is to show them what they're missing when it comes to marketing. Show them what they're missing when it comes to price. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when you talk to a seller and they say, well, I plugged my address into ChatGPT and this is what price it suggested. I don't need an agent. ChatGPT does it for me. How do you answer that objection? I think it's similar to the Zillow. Well, my Zillow's estimate is this. We know Zillow tells us that this estimate can be off by nearly 20% in either direction. So ChatGPT is going to be the same thing. Has ChatGPT ever been inside your home? Well, I uploaded pictures of it. That's better than nothing, and that's one point of reference. But I think asking them about pricing, how did you come up with your price, is another great question to start a conversation.
Hi, this is Ian Jones from the Mike team. This podcast is brought to you by Mike Ferrante of LPT Realty and the Mike team, real estate agents serving all of Ohio. Whether you're looking to buy or sell, or you're a realtor interested in partnering with our team, contact Mike directly at mike@21mike.com.
Let's talk about another objection we get from for sale by owners. Have you guys ever heard this? I want to try it on my own for a while. That's the exit strategy script. Great. How's that going? How long will you try for sale by owner before you consider talking to an agent like me, an expert in marketing homes in this area? Most of them have an answer. Most of them will say, well, we're getting serious interest. Great. Have you had any offers yet? I think the difference between interest and serious interest is pretty big. That's the delta that we focus on when we talk about interest. Have you had showings? Have you had offers? And many of these scripts, guys, translate really well to expireds. We have to shift the script a little bit and maybe ask them, hey, I noticed that your home wasn't on the market. Are you still interested in selling? Keep in mind, my experience calling expireds, they're kind of angry in many cases. They have this promise, this contract with an agent who said, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and get your house sold. And it doesn't happen. That script, I like to ask about the same questions. Well, how did they market the home? Why do you think it didn't sell? Now, keep in mind, my good friend Greg Harrelson, Century 21 out of Myrtle Beach, he talks about smoke screens versus objections. So just like I said, look, a question isn't necessarily an objection, so don't turn it into one. we get something called smoke screens that we have to get through. So when an expired says to you, well, we're not selling now, do you think they're really not interested in selling their property, or is that a smoke screen? I'm here to tell you 99 times out of 100, the we're not selling now is just a smoke screen. They're just trying to get you off the phone. And fair enough. You're cold calling, right? So have your objection handlers ready for those types of things. Instead of saying, "Oh, you're lying, you're seriously not selling," I would ask questions, qualifying questions like, if your home had sold, because it was on the market, right? If your home had sold, where would you have gone? What would you have done? Did you have a plan? And everybody does. I mean, no one has their home on the market if they're not a seller. Now, maybe they're not serious. Maybe they're not in a hurry. Anyone ever heard that objection? That's great. It's a great position to be in. But get down to motivation. If your home had sold, where would you go? All right, so that's some real high level little nuggets for you guys. I want to run down a list of objections real quick because I know that's where we all go. Those of you who are dialing the phones, I applaud you. If you're struggling with a particular objection, though, have that ready. I don't want to say have a piece of paper in front of you with the objection handler, because you really need to have these right on the tip of your tongue. You're not going to be able to read a piece of paper. It's going to seem very mechanical and awkward when you're doing that. But, these questions you need to practice these. And again, I'll mention the Saturday role play for anyone who wants to join us. Just hit me up with an email, mike@21mike.com. But here are some of the typical objections that I hear when making these calls. The first one is, hey, I'm not interested in paying a commission. And here's one potential way to handle that. I totally get that. Most for sale by owners start there. But the real question is about the net. Do you have a dollar amount in mind that you need to net? Getting down to that motivation and finding out what the dollar amount is. The other place that I go, especially with for sale by owners, is, hey, are you okay with paying half a commission? You don't have a listing agent. If I bring you a buyer, you're essentially only paying one side of a commission. And most of them get interested in that. In an extreme seller's market, one of the scripts that I have practiced is, what if there was no commission? What if the buyer pays my fees? Because that's a distinct possibility, right? Now, not all buyers can do that. So know who your buyers are before you go down that road. But certainly it's something that could pique the interest of a seller. We want to try it ourselves first. I would respond to that with, out of curiosity, how long would you like to do that before you reassess, before you talk to an agent? Um, the agents just want the listing. I hear this one a lot. Oh, you agents are all the same. You just want the listing. This is a tough one to address, right? Sure, everybody wants a listing. But again, my friend Greg Harrelson says, I'm not here to list houses. I'm here to sell them. And I solve problems. I get homes sold. Here's my track record. How long have you been trying? Knowing the numbers. Like right now in our market, we're at about 22 days to get a home under contract. Being armed with that info ahead of time and having a seller who says, well, we've been on the market for a month for sale by owner, we're just getting started. Wow, a month in our market is a long time. So knowing the data for your market is really important. Um, hey, I'm on Zillow. That's good enough. Remember, that's just a fraction of the traffic that you might get. We like talking about professional photos, video, targeted marketing. Are you doing Facebook ads, for example? It's something that's so simple, and I can target buyers in a 15-mile radius around your house. Most for sale by owners and most expireds don't have the capacity to do that. And frankly, most agents aren't doing it. They're putting properties in the MLS and waiting for the phone to ring. The other one that I wanted to talk about, and this just came up on Saturday Role Play, is we already have an agent. I have a family member who's an agent. The way I like to handle this objection is one of two ways. First of all, you can ask, what made you pick that agent? And find out. what your competition is. The second thing, and this is really the one I love the best, it's the second opinion objection handler. Most clients, buyers and sellers, work with the first agent they meet. That's about 72% is the latest data I read. 72% of people work with the very first agent they meet. They don't even know a comparison. You don't know what you don't know if you don't at least talk to two agents, right? Everything you hear from the first agent may seem great until you talk to that second agent, me, and find out what I do differently. Hey, no obligation. How about a second opinion? This is probably one of the biggest assets that you own, and you're getting ready to sell it. Would you sell a car to a car lot without getting a second opinion? Probably not. And a car is worth a fraction of what a house is. All right, guys, that's what I have for you today as far as objection handlers and quick scripts. I want to open it up here because I've got some big brain power here on the live show. Um, let's let's go there. Scott's asking me if I know about Land Voice. That begs the question, where do you get the info? We've got Land Voice, Vulcan 7, Red X. There's all kinds of sources for sale by owner and expired data. And Land Voice is one of them that Scott mentioned. Listen, wherever you get your data from, I have found that it's usually worth paying for the upgrade. So I used to use Vulcan 7, Scott, and when I wasn't paying for the upgrade, when I wasn't paying for the upgrade on RedX and LandVoice, I found that a lot of the data was poor. I was getting wrong numbers. Oh, that person hasn't lived here in 5 years. But paying for the upgraded data, and at the time, I think I was paying $100 a month, it was worth it. I found that the Vulcan 7 data was about 90% accurate. Maybe 1 in 10 was a wrong number, or, oh, that person already sold that house a year ago. And then the second tip, of course, is the do not call list. You know, I think it's a mistake and it's against the law to call people on the do not call. So I highly recommend consulting with your manager broker about that because you don't want that fine.
Hey,
What else do you have
Mike,
to add, Scott?
could I say just one thing? Land voice is a little bit different. I was at 121 last week, went to their booth, and he was offering it to me. If you do it now, which you know how that goes at conventions, uh, it'll be whatever it was, 950 a year or something. But
Yeah.
the difference between Red X and Vulcan and all is that land voice. Uh, each morning screens like uh, pre-foreclosures, divorces. It more predicts who's going to be selling now rather than just providing a list of phone numbers.
Yep.
You know?
There's a couple services that do that. There's Prop Stream. We use Property Radar, which is another one.
Yeah,
The data
yeah,
that's out there is just insane. There are all these different data providers are constantly improving the service that they offer. So it's not just for sales and expireds anymore. It's like you said, Scott, the estates, the inherited properties. If you're
yeah.
someone who's behind on their taxes, I mean, it may seem
It does.
I'm trying to think of the right word here. It may seem like you're a vulture calling people who are behind on their taxes, but the reality is, like we always preach, you're solving a problem. These are people who need a solution to a problem. And if you're the answer before they go into foreclosure, maybe they don't realize that they could sell their property, walk away with a few bucks instead of losing it to foreclosure. All right, good stuff today, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to do one more week of scripts and dialogues, and then I'm going to get into some more marketing stuff after that. We're going to talk about also this whole thing that's going on with the office exclusive listings, how that relates to NAR. I've been waiting to comment on this and waiting to do my video because I want to digest it all. It's kind of like you've got one side saying, oh, office exclusive listings, it's great for the industry, it's great for everybody, and we should be doing it. And then the other side is saying, oh, no, that's self-serving and it only benefits the agents and the brokerages. I've tried to take an objective look at this, and I'm going to put a short video out here soon that kind of I hate to use the word opinion, but it's going to be sort of everything that I've digested. I'm going to spit it back out and just give you guys some quick thoughts. So stay tuned for that. And of course, join us every week here on Tuesdays for Tuesday training. Email me if you'd like a topic covered. We're open to discussing what you guys are struggling with or what you have questions on. It's Mike@21mike.com. Take care, everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Free Beer and Real Estate from the 21 Mike team at LPT Realty. Please subscribe to the podcast and find us on YouTube by searching Mike Ferrante, Cleveland Realtor. You will find market updates, agent training, and more.